Stocks trade ranged ahead of a likely India-US trade deal announcement. FMCG and crude oil users gain while metals and industrials drag.
India and the US are close to striking a mini trade deal in the next 48 hours. Negotiations on the pact are mostly complete and offer a fair deal for India's labor-intensive sector with some concessions for select US agri products and pencil in an average tariff rate of 10%.
Godrej Consumer, Dabur and Nykaa point to consumption ticking up. Jewelry makers Kalyan and Senco post strong Q1 growth and QSR major Jubilant Foodworks clocks healthy pizza sales.
The OPEC and its allies have accelerated the hike in production, pointing to a stable global economy amidst low oil inventories. August output will now be upped by almost 5.5 lakh barrels a day compared to the 4,11,000 barrels hike between May and July.
Defence Secretary R.K. Singh says the contract for 5th generation advanced medium combat aircraft will be awarded in 3 to 6 months, even as developing a 5th gen jet and taking it to the skies can take 10 years.
Good afternoon, you're with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Hormuz Fatakia. With me is Vamakshi Dhoria. Vamakshi, good morning. Continuing to remain on the edge, as was the story last week as well, and all eyes will be on Donald Trump at 9:30 this evening as to what announcements will he make.
Well, absolutely, Hormuz. The markets for now are on the wait and watch mode. There's absolutely nothing going on as far as the major benchmark indices are concerned. Take a look at Nifty 25,430 thereabouts is where the Nifty is at. The Sensex too is quite subdued in trade today. Let's take a look at how the advance decline ratio is panning out. Last I checked, the advance and decline ratio, the gap between both of them was expanding. It continues to do so even now, and that is reflecting in the broader markets. Take a look at the Midcap index. It's down almost 0.4%. The small cap index too down almost 0.5%. So both of the broader market indices are underperforming the benchmark index. Now let's also take a look at what specific sectors are doing then. Nifty FMCG is doing quite well on the back of several Q1 updates. Let's take a look at Godrej Consumer. That stock is up almost 6% now, trading close to the day's highest point. Dabur, Hindustan Unilever, Imami, Jyoti Labs are just some of the other FMCG names that are doing quite well in trade today, Hormuz.
It is the sector of the day is FMCG, and if you take a look at all of these names, be it GCPL, Dabur, Imami, the only one that's not doing well though is Jubilant Foodworks, and that is continuing to remain at the lowest point of the day. And this FMCG business update move has reflected on a lot of other names that have not reported numbers so far, which is HUL is one of them among the top gainers on the Nifty today, and the other one of course being names like Jyoti Laboratories and Imami. They too are continuing to do fairly well for themselves in today's trading session. So that is the sector of the day. But the big conversation that we had earlier in the day was with the Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh, who spoke exclusively to CNBC TV18, and Parikshit spoke to him, and he's joining us with the key highlights from the conversation that he had with the Defence Secretary. Parikshit.
Well, perhaps the most important takeaway is the fact that the Defence Ministry is going to be seeking an increased expenditure on a sustained basis for India's defence sector. In fact, Secretary R.K. Singh told us that they would be asking for an increase in defence expenditure share in the GDP from 1.9% currently to 2.5% for the 16th Finance Commission. So this has a cycle for 5 years till 2031. And for the next 5 years, they would be seeking an increase in defence expenditure as a part of GDP. They may also seek an additional allocation in the revised budgetary estimates for FY26 for defence, for the defence capital acquisition. And this is because there have been a lot of emergency procurement after Operation Sindoor. There is a lot of acquisition for new technologies. The government is well on track to spend over 2 lakh crores this year as well. And considering the space, they may need an additional allocation, and a call will be taken on that very soon. The government is also looking to issue a large tender. In fact, when we asked them if there is going to be any kind of financial support for the industry to make combat drones. The Defense Secretary said that the order itself will be so large that the industry will not need any other financial support. So we're going to see emergency procurement and also long-term contracts for combat drones, swarm drones, UAVs as well. On our own indigenous fifth generation fighter program, or the AMCA program, the government hopes to complete the process of awarding this contract in the next 3 to 6 months. From building a prototype to having a fifth generation fighter in the skies would take about 10 years. In the meanwhile, the government is also looking to acquire the fifth generation fighter from one of our key allies, and conversations are on. According to the Defense Secretary, he did not comment on whether there are any formal proposals or formal talks ongoing with either US or Russia for that matter. Recently, Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, spoke to his counterpart in the US, Pete Hegseth, and raised the issue of delays in deliveries of weapon systems. So post that, we're learning that the Apache helicopter, 3 of them will be delivered this month. On the 404 engines which have been delivered for the Tejas fighters, there was a delay there as well. We're now told that 1 was delivered in April, 1 will be delivered in July. And going forward, 2 engines will be delivered to India per month till March. And therefore, the HAL will be able to deliver at least 12 Tejas fighters by the end of this fiscal. As far as the F414 engine is concerned, we're told that the technology transfer agreement is done and the pricing negotiations could be completed in the next 2 to 3 months. The US and India are also holding negotiations on P8I reconnaissance aircraft. So let's see what happens. But net, the government sending out the message that currently 75% of our capex is going towards domestic acquisitions, and we're going to focus more on indigenous manufacturing, technology development, and acquisition in the future as well.
So as far as we are concerned, yes, the nature of warfare changing the way it is. There is a large market for drones in the country, military drones. I think industry recognizes that and is making investments. There are 1 or 2 promising companies with Indian designs as well. There are others, including some large industry conglomerates who've tied up with foreign vendors or OEMs with transfer of technology. So yes, from our side, the support will be there in the form of large orders, large RFPs or tenders that will be issued, and it will be under Indian, by Indian and IDDM categories, because the intent is to make it in India. But it could be at fully Indian design and manufactured. It could also be one where the technology is from outside, but the construction or the manufacturing takes place in India. As of now, we are looking at establishing an MRO here in the first place, and thereafter we'll see. The numbers may not be sufficient to have a, co-development and co-production. It's very early to talk about that. Right now, I think there is a suggestion that we might go for some additional orders of the S400. Out of the 5 batteries that we've already ordered, 2, as you know, are still to come. They'll come next year. And by the end of next year, all 5 will come. So yes, maybe there could be some additional orders that could be considered. But generally, in terms of production, normally you start with an MRO, and over time, depending on the volume, you could look at co-production. But it's probably a little early to be talking about that.
Well, we also spoke with DK Sunil, the CMD of Hindustan Aeronautics. He shares their outlook as well. Listen in.
This will be a very big R&D effort for the Sukhoi 30, which will take about 5 years to complete. And 84 aircraft will be upgraded, and the overall and repair and the upgrade will pan out after 5 years. And it's expected to be about 65,000 crores. Helicopters will be built predominantly in Tumkuru. We already have started producing the LUH there. So the facilities are up, and that will be expanded to cater for the LCH also, which is the Prachand. So we expect to close it in 6 years from FY28 onwards.
Well, there are plenty of stocks that are moving around in the broader markets, and let's get you those now on the back of their respective news flows. Ria is joining us with that. Ria, tell us, which are the stocks on your list?
Well, yes, Hormuz, a lot of stocks in focus today. A lot of companies have come out with their Q1 updates. The first one is Godrej Consumer. The standalone business, the company says, is likely to deliver high single-digit value growth on the back of mid-single-digit UVG going ahead. And they've also said that volume growth this time around has been strongly competitive and is improving on a sequential basis. Moving on to Dabur for their Q1 updates. Now, on this front, due to a decline in the beverage space, Dabur's consolidated revenue is expected to grow in low single digits going ahead, and the consolidated operating profit growth is expected to marginally lag the revenue growth this time around. Moving on to Senco Gold, the Q1 retail revenue has gone up by around 24%, and in terms of the outlook for the second quarter of FY26, the company is on course to achieve their annual target of 20 showrooms. Hindustan Bank has also come out with their Q1 business update. The net advances have gone down by around 3.9% on a year-on-year basis and down by around 3.1% sequentially as well. Deposits have also been muted on a year-on-year basis and on a sequential basis are down by around 3.3% this time around. Moving away from the Q1 business updates, Mahindra Lifespaces has also been in focus today. The company has launched a new tower at the Mahindra Citadel in Pune with a total GDV of about rupees 2,500 crores. BEML is in focus since the company has secured 2 export orders from CIS and Uzbekistan for heavy equipment, and the order is worth about $6.23 million. The last one that is in focus today is a defense stock, DCX Systems. The company has received the industrial license for the production of radar and electronic warfare systems, and also for the manufacture of avionics and defense electronic equipment in Karnataka.
Thanks so much for that, Ria. But as we slip into a very short break, remember to tune into the all-new CNBC TV18 Prime, bringing you insights from policymakers, business leaders and economists shaping both the world and India's future. CNBC TV18 Prime decodes global shifts and their impact on Indian businesses, giving you unparalleled insights. Tune into CNBC TV18 Prime at 12 noon for the Global Reset, at 1 p.m. for the Big C, and the Global Lens at 8:30 p.m. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC TV18. The big trade story this afternoon is Trump's tariff deadline. The US president has said he had signed several letters detailing the tariff rates the countries would face on goods exported to the US. Describing them as take it or leave it offers, Donald Trump said the letters would be sent out on today. Here is what he had to say.
Sending letters out on Monday having to do with the trade deals. It could be 12, maybe 15. You know, Secretary of Commerce right here. And I guess, Howard, I would say it could be maybe as many as 15 or so. And they'll be going out on Monday, and some will go out on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we've made deals also. So we're going to have a combination of letters, and some deals have been made.
Who was alongside the US president also told reporters that the higher tariffs would take effect on the 1st of August. Listen into what he said.
But they go into effect on August 1st. Tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president is setting the rates and the deals right now. Well, the president is right in the midst of discussing all sorts of deals with all sorts of countries, and the gentleman to my right is going to decide, and I'm going to be with him when he makes that decision.
Well, sticking with the tariffs then, sources tell CNBC TV18 that India and US are set to take a final decision on a mini trade deal in the next 2 days. Parikshit joins us with more details. Parikshit?
Well, yes, a final decision on the mini trade deal is likely to be taken in the next 24 to 48 hours. The negotiations are now over. There's going to be no further negotiation on that mini trade deal. We're told by sources that India has proposed from its side a very fair trade deal which would give access to India's labor-intensive sectors, SMEs, especially those in areas such as textiles and footwear. And it will be a win-win for both US and India. At the same time, we've drawn our red lines in the negotiations. There will be no concessions on wheat, rice, maize and dairy products in the deal. We'll offer no concessions or compromise on areas which are important for our farmers. And no access for GMO crops either. Certain US agricultural items such as pecan nuts, blueberries, which are not used or not consumed in India in a very big way, those may be allowed access on lower tariffs. On the question of automobile tariffs, which are a very important part of any trade negotiations, keeping in mind India's automobile industry, we're told that India has proposed the same tariff arrangement as has been done with UK, European Union and other nations. So we're now waiting for both sides to take a political call, that is Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump. Currently, the talks have only been concluded on the mini trade deal. On the larger tranche 1 of the bilateral trade agreement, which has to be concluded by fall when President Trump comes to India, those negotiations are yet to begin and will begin after the 9th of July. What we can tell our viewers that if this deal goes through, then the average tariff would be around 10%, and US will also continue imposing the steel tariffs on India. They are not likely to provide any exemption, but for the moment, we're awaiting a final nod from both the White House and the Indian government.
Parikshit, thanks a lot for that update. Now, in a CNBC TV18 exclusive, my colleague Abhimanyu spoke to Commerce and Industries Minister Piyush Goyal on the FTA negotiations. Listen into his comments.
We are trying to create a trading environment and trading arrangements and agreements which will help two-way trade. Our handicrafts, our handlooms, our various agri-products from here will also get a market worldwide. So it's always a benefit on both sides that is being balanced in a free trade agreement. After all, there are lakhs of handloom and handicraft persons here also. So we will be balancing everybody's interests when we are looking at free trade agreement.
So my final question to you, any new markets or products being looked at for exports?
Oh yes, our government at the center and the state is focused on new products, new exporters and new markets, and we will always be wanting and will encourage newer and newer exporters to come into this field. We'll try to encourage new products being exported. We just saw cherries being exported, Kashmir cherries being exported to other parts of the world. We would like to encourage newer markets being opened up for the delicious products of Kashmir.
Sir, you spoke about encouraging agriculturists, growers of the country with respect to apples, walnuts, cherries. What kind of protection do you feel is needed as far as minimum import price is concerned?
Well, prima facie, I think we have already increased the minimum import price to 50 rupees. There is a 50% import duty on that. So effective, plus some cesses and taxes. So it becomes 75, 80 rupees. On top of that, when you add clearance, marketing, branding, transport, distribution, in the marketplace, apples are sold at between 125 to 150 rupees per kilo. I think that's a very significant protection level because we also have 140 crore consumers. And if we make it very unviable or very expensive, then beyond a stage, the demand for apples will fall. Right now, also the amount of apple production falls short of the national demand. We still have to import about 4.5–5 lakh tons. And we'll work with the farmers to see how we can improve their production, how we can take their produce to the remotest parts of India. But along with that, we have to balance the demand of consumers also. But I have assured them that I will examine it in great detail. We have already given a very high level of protection. We will see what more can be done so that our farmers here can get even further protection.
Well, on that note, let's slip into a very short break. But before we do that, here is some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now only a click away. Introducing CNBC TV18's all-new app. Get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates at your fingertips. Download the CNBC TV18 app now from the Apple Store or Google Play Store, or just scan the QR code on your screen.
You're still with us here on Business Lunch. The benchmark indices continue to remain choppy in a very, very narrow trading range. The Nifty bank that had slipped into the green at one point is now back in the red. It is now down around 70 points. The Nifty continues to remain at the flat line, while the mid-cap index, though, is the one that is seeing some bit of selling pressure, 150 points lower on the mid-cap index. But with that, we take your leave on this edition of Business Lunch from Amakshini and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Mid-cap Radar on the other side.